Welcome back, everybody, to the Twitch stream. We're back for part two. If you're not on the Twitch stream, welcome back a week later for part two of our interview with Victoria. I am your host, Samera.
I'm your co-host, Eve.
Welcome back, Victoria.
Hi.
So I guess a little bit that I wanted to start this segment off is like if you as much or as little of the if you would like, I just wanted to ask you a bit about like um you delved into a little bit before in the first part, but like just a little bit about your trans journey.
Mhm.
Where it started, where you felt, where it was kind of coming from.
Like, sorry.
Like, I mean, a lot of people talk about, like, I felt it, at a younger age, or like,
Oh,
what was
sure.
their egg cracking moments, or, and how the journey kind of went with them.
I guess like kind of, growing up in like I said in the 80s and 90s, there wasn't like a lot of I was in a pretty queer desert. Like there wasn't a lot of queerness around. And so there was a lot of like unlearning I had to do in my 20s where I was having, queer sex and things like that, but it it was always like a compartmentalized part of who I was. And if there's one thing that straight girls really like doing, it's being in a relationship with a trans lesbian who doesn't know it yet. So, like, I used to joke that every one of my shirts was made of boyfriend material because girls would just always want to like be in like a monogamous relationship. So I kind of was in like a monogamous relationship for like a long time. And because of that, I never really felt like I had the freedom to explore my queerness. And it wasn't really until I was like 31 that I was like out of all that queerness, all that like or all that straight trap life structure. And I was like, okay, like now I really have a chance to like really explore who I am and stop compartmentalizing these things that I don't think anyone would ever accept. Then I started on that path. And then along that way, I met my wife, who was super supportive and is pansexual. So she's like, I don't really care how you express your gender. And I was like,
Hmm.
so, it was with her encouragement and guidance that I kind of took those first steps. And because I had that support in my life, then I could kind of explore these things and tendencies, these stuff that I'd always kind of had to push down to be like, no, 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 this is what I'm going to live in. There's these other things, but I'm not really going to like open that door much. And then once I was kind of on that path, and I was able to do that more. And for me, drag was a really important part of my transing because I was expressing this hyper femininity and I would experience euphoria from presenting femme. And then when I had to like take that off, that was really sad. And I was like, oh, like this is a sign that like that I really do love this. And it's more than just a character I'm playing. Like I love the femininity all the time. And it helped. It really did.
I can relate to that in a big way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
big
also kind
time.
of like compartmentalized a lot of things that later, once I realized I was trans, I was like, oh, I did have dysphoria, but I just repackaged it as other things. Like there was other things that I just thought I just didn't like about my body or had hangups or like, I don't know. And this just never really did anything for me. And it's like, oh, like maybe that wasn't exciting for you because you didn't want to have that part on your body or, these other dysphoria just kind of like spidered into other things because I didn't even know what to name it because I just didn't have those kind of resources as a kid.
It's very insidious the way it can creep into those things and how they get compartmentalized and changed, whether it's
Yep.
from a religious experience, a lack of social information, no matter what it is. It's so bizarre how
Mhm.
it just creeps into all these different spots every
It really
time.
does. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. That's
No problem.
Yeah, thank you.
amazing. And I mean, a little bit with that, like, because you talk about I'm on the wrong chat here. Um, One of the things that you were saying was that drag was so part of your transition, and an important piece of it. A question that Bree had here, and I wanted to tie it in, was if you can tell us a little bit about drag and burlesque performances and what they meant to you and like how that helped shape you in a way, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I view drag as the art of the tease. Um, it's it's less about getting naked and more about teasing and sensuality and sexuality. And it doesn't even have to be that sexual, to be honest. It is the art of the tease. It's so fun. It's so lovely. Burlesque is a wonderful matriarchy, which I really really love. It is a very femme centered experience. The norms, the pattern, it's matriarchal, which is makes it very rare for art forms out there. So that's one of the reasons why I love it so much. Whereas drag is, and burlesque is very, very queer. Um, Drag can only be queer. Even though straight people can do it, its norms and patterns are defined by queerness, which means I love it as well. Um, my definition and understanding of drag is a queer lens on the world. And it is a personal queer lens that any queer artist holds up to pop culture or the rest of the world. And it's their interpretation of that through their queerness. So that's why I love them both. I think there's just so wonderful and for me, like they kind of all just swirl around together. So yeah.
That's very cool.
That is really cool. Um, I guess so, as you transition through it, like, did you start feeling like, did you feel yourself becoming Carla, or were you still able to be yourself outside of the drag queen?
Well, I when I was transitioning and building the character, at first there was a very strong divide. Like I really kept them as part as much as I possibly could. And then they kind of got closer and closer and closer. And there's kind of like those things that RuPaul says about like at some point you realize that the power that you have in drag, you have all the time. And I definitely feel that was true for me that, I built this kind of powerful drag character. And then eventually I realized that I needed less and less of the drag to really access that power whenever I wanted to. Everyone's got insecurities and fears and doubts and things like that. But when you're in like a performance world, you don't have to. It is a character. So you can kind of leave some of those things behind. But I'm definitely in an era right now where it's all smushed together. There's no boundaries between it anymore. It's kind of just like, how big is my hair? Am I wearing a wig? And even then, like I wear my natural hair and drag a lot now because I can, and like it's yeah, I'm really a trans showgirl. It's like what does the show need? That's what I'll do.
That is so cool.
I started more definitively as a drag queen, and then as I progressed in my transition and I had a body that I was more excited to connect with, then I started doing burlesque as well.
That is wow. And then I guess was DJing always a part of the drag performance, or was
Oh
or
no,
was
no, I only started DJing last year. I haven't even been doing
oh
it a
wow.
year now, but I've always loved music and I always love like I have an eidetic memory, so I'm pretty good at remembering things and that helps. So I just, I you might not know what song I'm gonna do for drag, but you're probably gonna hum it for the next 3 days afterwards. I'm really good at those songs that kinda just, like, live in your head, and, like, other performers sometimes will tell me, they're like, like, I know whatever song you're gonna do, I'm gonna be, like, humming it all night." And I'm like, "Well," I feel like those nostalgia songs that, like, hook inside you, I love those songs. And so, another trans woman, a friend of mine, Bryn, DJ Cyberwish, shout out. She taught me, like, gave me kind of a basic intro. And there's this like burlesque weekend retreat for the community we run called Summit of Sin in Golden, British Columbia. It's wonderful because we do it, and at the end, it turns into like a dance party for like all the burlesque performers. Like usually, there's like 20 of us that go out there, and we all stay in the hotel above the bar. So we're usually the ones that shut the bar down at the end of the night, and we do this like big kind of sing along dance party at the end for burlesque performers. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just bring this deck. I'm gonna bring this equipment, and that's the first DJ party I did. Was that? It just I was like, I had a rule that if I dropped the beat, I would show them a tit. So nobody cared if I screwed up. I was like, oh, drop the beat. There you go. Uh, and then, people were like, oh my gosh, are you DJing now? And I was like, yeah. And then So people like would book me for gigs, and I had to figure it out, and I've just been in love with it ever since. And so I've been doing it more and more. And I'm not like a very technical, like there's some DJs who are amazing at it and have like such great skills and are blending like 4 tracks back and forth and it'll blow your mind. And I'm like, you want bangers? You want let's just do bangers all night. Like my vibe is like, oh, would you like to hear words while you dance? I got you.
Put Sandstorm on a loop and call it a day.
You know what though? When I do throw Sandstorm on, people lose their fucking minds.
Classic.
You throw on like Cascada like every time we touch, followed by Sandstorm,
Oh,
followed by
there
like
you go.
Crazy Frog. It's over for these hoes.
heck yes.
That's great. Are you going to try working DJing into any of your activism or any of the stuff that you do? Like I know you have a lot of there's a lot of things that you've done. I've noticed that I was reading up on Transaction Alberta, Queer Citizens United. There's a tons of stuff. I don't know if those specifically, but like, will you be using any of your drag performing or the DJ stuff to play into those type of events you may do? Or
Definitely the drag, definitely the comedy. I find that comedy is something that really makes things very accessible for people. And I love using comedy to talk about transness because I feel like a lot of well-meaning allies are very scared to say the wrong thing. And so even our allies are sometimes the people that are like, I'm okay with talking about transness are afraid to because they don't want to say the wrong thing. So the only people left talking about transness who aren't trans are critics. And that doesn't feel great. So I like to give people permission to enter those conversations by talking about my transition journey and also just knowing that like so many few people have actually met one of us or close enough to talk to us. So yeah, am I going to make a joke about being a 40-year-old woman and getting a vagina? Yeah, I am, because I can see the humor in that. I was a 40-year-old woman sitting on a toilet with this thing betraying me. The urine was coming up out of the bowl. I didn't know what I was like, Cheryl, what are we doing? I call my pussy Cheryl. It was ridiculous. I laughed. I was like, this is so funny. Because my only thought was like, most people get the first time they go pee, most people get that out of their way when they're like a baby. And I'm a middle-aged woman and I have to go through this. This is ridiculous. And everyone's like, what's the sex like? I'm like, you know what? I haven't figured that out yet. I'm just worrying about peeing right now.
one step at a time.
Like,
I was just born yesterday.
Everyone's worried about about trans women peeing in the bathroom because they're worried about sexual assault. You should be worried about us making a mess. We can't control it.
Right?
I went from a laser pointer to a fire hose. I am a menace.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Stream my albums on Spotify. You'll hear more.
May have to now.
That's fun. I got 2 albums on Spotify or Apple Music, or I'm on Deezer. It's under my drag name, Karla Marx. Karla with a K, Marx with an X.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I mean, that's just it, is like after doing that whole bottom surgery thing, is just like, yeah,
It's
you're trying to refigure all of that.
Oh, well, trying to have sex with it, you're like, as I said, I'm a lesbian. I was like pretty experienced with these things, should be fine. But it's like going to a restaurant as a customer and then thinking you could run the restaurant. You're like, my experience is very different. I don't know. I know how to eat here. I don't know how to serve this.
It's
Oh man.
oh my gosh.
Well, I'm still on the
Yes.
laser pointer side of things, so I got no frame of reference.
Good for you. You can still write your name in the snow.
What are the fringe benefits, I suppose, of still being
Yeah.
able to?
I put it down as like hieroglyphics. They're like, what? Bird?
Oh my gosh.
I used to do a lot of camping, and my mom had one of those. I don't know what they were called. They had like 4 different-
Shiwis.
Yeah, one of
Or
those.
Sheeness.
And I guess now someone could try and see if they actually work. Who can report back? I don't know.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
used to
know.
do a lot of glacier travel stuff, and girls used to have to carry it because you were not allowed to get off. Like if you're on a glacier, you're not allowed to get off rope to go somewhere else to go pee. So you're peeing on the skin track. So that means like, yeah, you unzip, you use that. You don't like, you want to die for a little bit of privacy. Also, it's a glacier. Where are you going? There's nowhere to hide.
There's nowhere to hide.
No.
I can see 3 kilometers that way. There's nowhere to hide. Like,
There's a crevasse over there, but I wouldn't recommend it.
yeah. So you're peeing on rope, which means a sheeness.
Humans, what do we think of next?
What will we think of
People
next?
rights.
It'd be nice. Oh man, well, that blew my tiny mind. I think Brie had a question in there somewheres.
Yeah. I'm trying to find where we kind of left off, but it's like, holy crap.
Come on, Bree, save us.
Bree, save us.
Well, here we go.
Uh,
Here's good. Bree said, "What did you enjoy about teaching in university, and what do you enjoy about informing the public?"
Oh, bold of you to assume I enjoy informing the public.
Well, I saw one of the things that Samera had shared with me recently was that video with what's her name? The premiere. I forget her name.
no, not a premiere. She was the MLA.
Oh, the MLA. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm American. I'm ignorant. Forgive me. And how you pretty much ended that with a single question.
Oh, with Jennifer Johnson.
Mm.
Yeah, that was
The
fun.
the famous, where she had a whole bunch of people doing a Zoom interview. Yeah, that very very famous clip.
Well, that happened because she was doing this apology tour to get back into caucus. And she's from the most conservative part of Alberta. Like you could run a cactus with a conservative if it's blue, they'll vote for it. And and she was she was kicked out of caucus during the just before the election because she compared trans kids in school to putting a dollop of poop in cookie batter. So that's why she got nicknamed the poop cookie lady. And so she wasn't allowed to sit with the caucus because they were still like trying to pretend that they didn't hit trans people at the time. And so it was like all the NDP on one side and Jennifer Johnson. Eventually her constituents were like, let her back in. And it was clear Danny was going to. But first she had to do like a little PR. She had to go apology to her to like, and show that she's listening and learning, right? And so she was chatting up a bunch of the pride organizations in central Alberta and gathering them up so that she could later say to the public, like, look, I met with all of these people and I listened to what they had to say. And some of them got wise that she was doing this, but they're just folks in a small town. Like they're not political operatives. And we were connected into a chat because I created a pride chat where like a lot of the prides are still connected to each other in this big chat that we have. And some of them were like, hey, Victoria, do you mind like stepping into one of these meetings? Because we're like, I don't know, just like come and watch if you want. I'm like, you betcha. Watched it, and I was just kind of like just hanging back, let her talk, let a bunch of like the local folks talk. And then eventually, like I realized when she kept saying, like, oh, well, I've talked to this group and I've talked to this group and I've talked to this group. And she didn't say anything that she thought. She just said, like, just kept giving us the credentials of all the people she talked to. And then she mentioned two groups with two people who I know. And she kind of like suggested that like where she was what they were saying. And I was like, there's no effing way. So just to like bring it to a stop, I was like, yeah, before we go any further, can you say on the record that trans women are women? And then after that got on the internet, then that like got tweeted out by J.K. Rowling and Elon Musk, and that's why I have cameras on my house.
Mm. Everyone's two favorite humans.
It was bad when
Mm.
Joanne got on it, and then when Elon commented back, that's when it really like that's when the death threat started. That's when like they started like messaging MRU to get me fired, like all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I can't imagine what that kind of pressure is like. Like just having, especially those two type of people at the platform they have coming down on one individual who comparatively is small. Like
Yeah.
just like I can't. I have no framework for that.
I luckily got like a few bits of this like before that. So like I had been, featured on the Western Standard and dealt with that, and Rebel News did something on me. So you kind of get used to it with like baby steps before you get into like international global elite turfs, the richest men in the world is tweeting about you stage. The nice thing is though that when people criticize me around town, I'm like,
That's the best you got.
did you write Harry Potter? Do you have these yachts? Come at me
And-
when you've written a beloved childhood story and then twist it into dog shit.
Yeah. And for all the people out there that aren't from Canada, Rebel News is essentially the MAGA people who are
Yeah.
writing news articles about woke.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like you take far right and then you go further right.
Yeah, they're kind of discredited these days. Like I don't really see as much from Rebel News as they used to. I feel like they've lost a
Yeah.
lot of steam. It's like a lot of the really like wild right-wing stuff now is happening in, like, the kind of blogger sphere now,
Yep.
like the Keenan Brextays and, like, you know, Alberta Proud Berta Dad, like, those kinda guys that are just
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. He's come
Um,
for me too. That was nice.
yeah, I get it, because 'cause I'm fucking Canadian.
There you go.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I'm
it's
Canadian,
the
I'm
bit,
not
I have
from
to
any
say it.
of Alberta.
It's the bit. Um, they are the Fox News of Canada. No, Rebel News is worse than Fox News.
No, it's more like it's more like InfoWars.
Yeah, that's the best, comparison, yeah.
Or like Tucker Carlson, like that kind.
Infowars or
It's more like
Newsmax because they got competition now.
yeah. Well, there's just so many of them. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So have you
Remember
found?
when Joe Rogan just used to eat bugs instead of coming for trans people? Do you remember that? Like,
J-
I remember, I still remember watching Fear Factor one time, and it was like after
Yes.
he, like, I guess, murdered or ate his co-host because there used to be two of them, and then at one season they were just like, it's just Joe Rogan now as the host, and I was like, what happened to like the little guy? Anyways, um, and and then one time, one contestant, like, they had it was like there's always, like, the bug one, right? Like, the other fear ones I could always do, but it was, like, the bug one that I would always be like, "I don't wanna eat fucking bugs." That's just me. There was, like, this one with, like, these, like, crazy scorpion kinda things, and someone was like, "Yeah, you just host this, Joe, like, you think you're tough? I'll give you $1,000 to eat it." Before the guy was even done the sentence, he just, like, scooped it and shoved it in his whole mouth, and he was so angry and red, and it was like, "Wow." Like, you're getting paid to be there. You're already getting paid millions of dollars. But like when his manhood was questioned, that bug was in his mouth so fucking fast. It was crazy.
He's special for someone who looks like a human thumb. Uh, just he has a single superpower on his podcast, especially. He will believe anything anybody tells him, 100%. He's
Yeah.
platformed flat earthers, young Earth creationists, uh, just all these weird conspiracy theories, and he believes every one of them, every one of them. And then he had Steve-O on recently with his anti-trans talking points. I'm just like, okay,
That
now
was
I'm
really
bored
bad.
again.
Yeah. Apparently we're responsible for all of the mass shootings.
Yeah,
Apparently, all what, 3% of them?
not even that much. I don't
Not
think.
even
Oh, no, it's
that.
0.3%.
Oh, it's like point. Yeah, we're like
Yeah,
If I
sorry.
remember the stat I saw from like 2013, so it's like probably like 5,000 shootings. Of those, like 5 were trans individuals.
yeah.
No,
Like
I was
it's
just
a diminishingly small number.
yeah, no,
Under
I was
under
thinking about it the other way, the 97% being cis male.
cis
That's
male.
why I was
Yeah.
thinking
Yeah.
3%, so that's why I was just yeah.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
But it's a small amount. But anyways, when it comes to being politically active and activism in general, do you
Mhm.
find when you have the JKKKs of the world and Elon Musk, does that kind of encourage you to push back more? I know some people who, as they've gotten more, I don't want to say militant, but as they've gotten more active and they get that pushback, they're like, well, I'm just gonna keep going. Did you find that actually kind of pushes you forward?
Honestly, it didn't motivate me one way or the other. J.K. Rowling as a person in my life is completely irrelevant. Like, they just represent hate and the force that I'm fighting in. And to me, like, I'm so unconcerned with what Elon Musk and J.K. Rowling and Joe Rogan actually represent for me specifically, because I'm never going to convince them to come to reason. I'm never going to convince them to put down their knives and that's either they're going to do that or they're not. But I'm not really going to be able to factor that. My focus has been and always will be trans people and people who are willing to listen, because there's diehard people on the other side that you're not going to reach them, but there's that group in the middle. There's the allies who are like loose allies. They're not really showing up to rallies. They're not really super engaged, but they're kind of interested. They're kind of loosely supported. And then there's that other group that's like trending towards the other side, but could be convinced to come that way. That's who I'm focused on. I'm focused on defending queer and trans kids because I want to be that representation that I never had. I want somebody to be able to say, "Oh, well, look, Victoria's a professor. Victoria's got a wonderful wife and 4 dogs, and you can live a life like you can." I want that, and then I also want people to. I really hope that people's first interaction with a trans person is with somebody like me who's willing to not judge them if they have questions that are well-meaning and give them some grace if they're fumbly and just kind of welcome them into understanding who we are.
That's amazing, and absolutely, I'm so thankful that, us as a trans community have people like you who are able to do that because, like, that means the world. The first trans person that I actually personally got to meet was Aurora Boren.
Love Aurora.
I
Yeah, we do
love
a lot of work.
Aurora.
We've done a lot of work and projects and shows and things together. She's great.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, so another extremely strong advocate of, trans rights and, like, just an amazing person, and it's just, like, people like that and you, and it's so good to have those be the first interactions and not somebody like oh, shoot, Bruce Jenner or something like that, and it's just like,
Like Caitlyn Jenner. Yeah,
or Caitlyn Jenner, what sorry, yeah.
yeah.
I'm not going to begrudge you that one, honestly.
So,
Well,
um
yeah. I won't be able to do those work forever. At some point, I'm gonna disappear into my backyard and just you'll never see me again. And I'll just be hiking with a bunch of gay dogs and my wife. Um, but I can now, and if I
Yes.
inspire other people to pick up the fight when my time fighting for this community is done, I'm one person. I wanna just, like, live my life and just enjoy it just like anyone else. Um, but I can and I have the ability to right now and the energy to do it. So I'm going to do it because I'm fighting for those kids that maybe don't have that capacity to fight and educate and contest spaces and maybe they need a little bit more softness and kindness and understanding. And if someone else gets out those first awkward weird interactions with me, then maybe they're a little bit more educated, a little bit more kind to that trans kid that needs it.
And that's exactly what I hope for because, I
Yeah.
mean, the not to go too deep into it, but, that's kinda what we need right now, especially in, like, small communities like the one in BC that unfortunately had a situation with a trans child who that went way, way wrong.
Yeah, I think about the families, I think about the
Yeah.
victims, and I just completely condemn any and all types of
Yes, yeah.
violence. It's so deplorable, and I'm not here to defend anyone's actions. The violence is wrong. It needs to stop. We need support. We need love. We need to focus on the victims right now, and just sending them love and support as they go through an unimaginable hardship, and to just really recognize that there's a major mental health crisis out there, and that we need to give supports to all communities and all youth, that they just realize that there's so many other options, there's so many other ways to live, that yeah, they're to make other choices.
Exactly.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to see if there was another question. There was one a little bit ago that I don't know if we fully went into. Bree was asking, I see you are focusing on political manipulation of emotions. What are some ways the general populace can use to break that manipulation down?
um Phew, tough question there for me.
There's the fullness of it. There's a lot more with it. But yeah. In fact, it's so big that it doesn't even fill up the entire blurb.
I think knowledge, education, and solidarity are really important ways. Like fear is scary. You're like when people whip that fear up of like loss, you're like, oh crap, like things are bad. They could get worse. I feel like that's a very scary thing that people often worry about, that they can be manipulated. So how do you push back against that? Yeah, I think education might be one of the biggest things to really counteract that. Um, and then making sure you've got powerful voices telling another story.
When it comes to educating people, you hear a lot of basic narratives about what we as trans people are. A lot of the stupid ones are like, oh, man and male are the same thing. Like you have a lot of misinformation, misquoting of science and stuff like that. Have you had any success with trying to reach people who are adamantly holding on to? You mentioned before about how, some people just you're never going to change their mind. But then there are some who you might be able to sway. What have you found that's been successful in helping to walk them over to a better path of understanding? Like, what methods have you used?
Tough
Not to say it's
thing is
manipulation per se, but
no, but, like, how do you convince? How do you talk
yeah,
to? How do you work with people? Give up all hope of a magic bullet.
it's true.
There's if there was one way to talk to people and get them to understand, we would have figured it out. We would have figured it out. We have so many wonderful, smart people who are defending this community. We would have found the magic words by this point. So I don't believe there is one way for this to work. I strongly believe that people often need to hear it from voices that sound like theirs, and they need to have a connection, an access point. Now, some people that's going to be emotional. They're going to be like, oh, like I love this person. I love my kid. I love my sister or my wife like so much, or my husband, son, whatever. They have a personal connection, and that personal empathy gets them motivated to get it. Some people, like my parents, they need an appeal to an authority. Oh, this is official. This is real. Look, it's on the forum, and that works. Other people need logic. Other people need repetition. People need their best friend Steve to say, "No, trans people are fine. Don't be weird about it." So there's a whole host of tactics, and what I always suggest to people is that there's no wasted effort. If you can get somebody to take one step along their journey to getting it, that's worth it. That's worth my time. I think it's a journey of like 1,000 steps. It's a long journey. So maybe you get somebody to take 8 steps, 20 steps, 100 steps in one go. That's huge. But even if it's just one step, and then someone else comes and talks to them, and it's another step, and someone else comes to talk to them, or someone else says, I'm not going to tolerate this. These can all be steps for people getting it. They're all worthwhile. And don't feel like you've got to wait for someone else to do it or run it or push you, because there can be so many different ways. And maybe yours is the appeal that will be the most important.
True enough. Absolutely.
And that just hits so home, because I mean it isn't always about, getting them on that right step right then, right there. You know, it's just slowly planting the seeds, letting them know that, we're human. Like,
Well, and that's just it, right? Some people will respect that argument of like, I'm just a person just like you. I have different lived experiences, but I'm just trying to take care of my loved ones. I'm trying to put food on the table. I'm trying to find my own happiness in this way. Other people, will be motivated by different things, but finding those things is still and connecting with those things is still worthwhile. I don't usually like to say this a lot, but I've been saying it more recently, and that is that we need to take a page out of the Mormon's book. You ever been within 5 feet of a Mormon?
gosh,
Yeah,
No, I
yes.
you have.
haven't.
You have because they talk to you. So maybe we kind of need to be a little bit like, hey, have you tried trans? Maybe
Have you
trans is
tried?
good for you.
Well,
Like,
according to the Trump,
but
we're transing all the kids. So yeah.
well, we're turning the frogs gay. We're transing all the kids. So
Well, and I think that exposure is important, and I think that's one of the things that, like, one of my favorite things that really hit home for me is, the whole, drag queen readings at libraries, because of the fact is, it gives exposure, but it's like it's not you're just reading to them, but you're showing that you can go and do this and live your authentic self and be who you want to be. You
yeah,
don't have
I-
to.
I'll come clean. Times were tough. It was a pandemic. Wasn't a lot of gigs, and I did things. I read books to children. Shameful. I know, but
How dare you?
I had few options, and so I read the books. Do you know that most of the books didn't even mention queerness? Most of the books that we read were just like, people are different and that's okay. Like, that's the theme of almost all of them. They didn't even mention that somebody might be queer.
Yeah.
And like, I honestly, I think I did probably like 10 or 12 readings, and I think I only read 1 or 2 books that ever mentioned like actual queerness. It was so rare. And then when gigs started up again, I was like, I'm not doing this. Well, children, right? They carry diseases. And you ever been tipped by a kid? You can't. They don't have jobs. They don't have money. And so I, I couldn't do it. And then when the protests against drag story time really started in earnest later on, they were like, these men are exposing themselves and we have to stop them. And I looked at the roster of people who are doing the readings. There wasn't a single AMAB performer in the group. And most of them were drag kings. And so they're out there freaking out about, oh, these men are scaring our children. There wasn't a single cis man. There were no peens in the building. So I was like, this is ridiculous. And
I think a
usually when I tell
lot of
people that, they're like, oh wait, there's not. And I'm like, no, they're fabricating things. They're not real. That none of the Sometimes I honestly wish they just had a thing that I was like, "Oh shit, yeah, we do that." Like, maybe that is bad. But it's so wild to have such a massive campaign that is literally wall to wall misrepresentations, disinformation, lies. It's wild.
Well, a big part of it too is that there's this massive coupling between trans people and sex. And a lot of that, I would argue, is because that is one of the ways, unfortunately, that a lot of people have exposure to trans people. Uh,
Mhm.
that's its own rabbit hole. I'm not going to go down too deep, but and that's just pervasive throughout every narrative thrown against us. It's like we're just folk, we're just people. We work 9 to 5s. We have that annoying neighbor who plays their music too loud. We have an annoying pet that chews a hole through the wall. Like we're the same as you.
Yeah.
Like, but they have this bizarre coupling, and it ruins everything.
I want more trans mediocrity.
I was
Yeah.
talking to a friend of mine this afternoon about that, and she herself, she's trans, and she's struggling with trying to understand the more unique individuals within our community. And she's like, I just want to be a woman, just like a generic woman. I said, you're talking about the basic cishet binary type narrative. You have your spouse, your house, the 2.3 kids, a dog, and go about your day. That's the dream that we all, reached for. We're told to have, but that's
Yeah.
not the reality we get to live in, unfortunately.
Yeah, I also just kind of feel resistant to the idea that I'm supposed to be ashamed of being trans or that like the goal is to pretend that I'm not. And it's like, no, like a tall woman is still tall, a short woman is still short, we all have different lived experiences. And I don't want the happy life to be a life where I don't mention that I'm trans. Like, why not? I'm trans. It's not a big deal. That's
To
what
that
I
you
kind
said,
of worry about too. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. They're
Yeah.
not looking at the, women's basketball league and looking at how tall they are and going, you must be trans because you're tall. No, they're tall women.
Yeah. Well, they shouldn't be. I mean, they are. I mean, you look at what happens to so
transvestigators.
many of them. Yeah,
So
it's
weird.
it's really horrible how transvestigated a lot of these folks are.
I'm amused when they turn on their own. That is honestly amusing to me right now, but that's a result of the current day politics.
Yeah. Somebody was
Yeah.
transvestigating libs of TikTok the other day, and I was like, "This is great."
Please continue. I got popcorn. I'm ready to watch.
I was like, "Okay, like so irony's dead. There's what do we do to top this? Like,
Yeah.
it's over.
Yeah.
Pack it up."
They're just making comedy material for you at your next show.
I often joke that I love getting invited to things because like there's no bad outcome for me. Like either I have a wonderful time or I have a terrible time and I end up with 5 minutes of material.
It's a win-win.
Really, it is.
We have another question from Bree. It's a little bit of a longer one, but I think
Sure, what's up?
we should go for it. She wants, if how much you want to go in, talk to us a little more about your transition. What was your biggest support structures? And what are some of the basic life skills you are doing now versus before transition? And is there anything you miss from that old life or anything you absolutely love now that you hadn't expected?
Okay, let's break it down. Biggest support structure was my wife, Kayla. She's amazing. Yeah. Wouldn't have been able to do it or do it in the way that I have without her. Like just huge support. She was massive. And then I had a bunch of really close friends that were immediately accepting and lovely. Tom, Celine, Christy. Yeah, they were just wonderful. Like I had lots of really wonderful people around me. They were just like, yeah, in. And then Jamie Simons was the kind of I think we all have a person, trans or not, that kind of inspires us to be like, oh, if you can do it, I could do it. And Jamie was just like so openly, flamboyantly, extravagantly gay and lived through the same decades I did that I was like, okay, well, like if he could figure it out and survive, then so will I. And so it's just I think those were kind of a lot of the biggest supporters that I had in those earliest days. And then I have so many wonderful people around me now that just love and Marie, my friend Marie, oh my gosh, she was one of the first people who really like saw me as the woman that I was. Yeah, she's just one of my forever babes. What are some of the more basic life skills you like doing now versus before transition? I don't know. I was always that person who was like, see, men will clean the house and are emotionally in touch and men like to garden and all these things. Your opinions of men are outdated because there's men out here who are doing these. And then I was like, oh shit, I don't think I helped at all.
There were no signs.
Poor dudes.
I feel like you took that page out of
No.
my book.
Yeah, I think a lot of I don't know. I don't think I don't think so. I think I like more doing now. I think I always liked them. For me, it
Absolutely.
was more I think to answer the question in a way that maybe makes for sense from my experience, I think it was more about like certain instincts and emotions and like the way I do things rather than what I do. I'm just allowed to do it in a more organically feminine way that I learned to suppress. So like I'm still doing the same things, but I just do them in different ways. Like I still go hiking and stuff like that, but like my ass kind of hangs out now. I have like cute little booty shorts. And like I'm doing the same things, but I just do them in a way that I always wanted to instead of the ways I was told that I had to. Is there anything you miss from your old life? Anything I miss from my old life? I
Or
used to play a lot of
anything
hockey. I
yeah,
liked
or
that.
anything you absolutely love now that you hadn't expected.
Yeah, I'm treating it as 2 parts.
Okay.
So, is there anything you miss from the old life? I used to like playing hockey because I liked the actual sport. And there was some good guys that I knew, but overall, that culture is trash. And if you've ever been a part, if you ever like wondered what hockey guys are saying, it's worse than you could ever imagine. Like honestly, they are even the good ones will listen to horrible things and not say anything because they don't want to upset their buddies. And so, like, even if they are a good guy and not saying those things, they're still tolerating that hate in front of them because they don't wanna upset another man. So that's not a good guy, you know? So and then the
Locker
worst of the
room
worst
talk is a
the
real thing.
Mhm.
locker room talk, but also just the justification of, like, straight up, like, SA and work like, just I feel like there's bros who are just like, "Well, yeah, Jim definitely murdered somebody, but, bros before hoes, am I right?" Like, yeah, it's bonkers. Anything you absolutely love now that I hadn't expected? I mean, clit orgasms are way better than I ever thought. Woo!
Right?
Great. Great.
Right?
Hot damn. Wow. No muss, no fuss. I love it.
Right?
Um, didn't see that coming. Um,
Multiple orgasms too? Like,
sure. Yeah.
yeah, not
Yeah.
being one and done?
Sure. I don't know. I don't know because I don't think I don't know if I ever had an expectation of what it would be because I hadn't I didn't know I didn't have a maybe it's because yeah I don't think I had like a clear list of like this is what it shall be. I don't know if I ever allowed myself to dream that way.
Hmm, I love that. Thank you so much for all that information and sharing all that. That is so cool.
Yeah, no problem.
Like, just amazing journey and amazing progress, and yeah, I just love it so much.
Thank you. Thanks for
It's
having
always
me.
one of my favorite parts about, doing these, this show with, like, our guest stars is, getting to hear about their journey and, where they're at. I mean, it's always so cool to, for some of our guests, it's always very affirming to, or for guests, for some of our listeners who talk about it, it's very affirming to hear that it's not just them. It's there are others who get to hear this.
Yeah.
So I, Victoria, thanks. You're a great guest. Aubrey, you're so
Oh,
sweet.
thanks for having me. This is really fun. You got a really great community here.
We have an amazing community. I love it so very much. Um, but I guess as we wind down here, my favorite part of the show, though, is going to be um, the my favorite ending question is, what do you have going on for yourself for self care for
For
the next
self
little bit?
care. Oh, okay. I'm going hiking on Friday. That's pretty good. I go to the gym a lot. That usually feels really good. Um, And honestly, one of my favorite parts about going to the gym is that I go with my wife, so we just kinda, like, run around and we're silly people at the gym, and I get to spend time with her this week, which is really lovely. So, yeah, we're gonna go hiking together and the gym, and yeah, sleep. I love sleep. I love a good I got a really comfy bed, and I'm just like, we just kinda, like, wind down. But one of the things we do is we, like, start and end every day together, and it just, like,
Oh,
puts us on the same, like, pattern, the same rhythm, and so, yeah, I think that's a big part of my self-care routine.
that's
Yeah.
Super
super
cool.
cute.
I like
And
that.
I hope you get good weather for your hiking this weekend because Banff is supposed to be crappy weather. Sorry.
It's the spring, it's all over the place, but we got a big old winter wolf who just, was actually eating right beside me because he's a good boy.
Oh,
But he's like, "There's no such thing as cold weather." He's like, "Let's go." So
there you go.
we all go.
Eve, what do you have going on for self-care this next few
Oh,
days, week?
I got my weekly therapy session at work got moved up, so I count that one. We have a EAP therapist, which I very much am grateful for. She's great, so she's excited. She keeps texting me for a link to this show, and I send it to her, but she always misses it because she hasn't quite. She's technologically challenged. She's an older woman, so she hasn't quite figured it out. But there's that, and I was hoping to go hiking myself, but we're in the middle of kind of a false spring, and I don't know what the weather's going to do or when it's going to twist back on us and dump another 10 inches of snow. So hopefully, I can get outside and do something. That would be nice. But that's about the
Fair.
extent of it. I'm poor at my planning my self-care still. I have not acquired that life skill yet.
Hey, no, that sounds like great self-care. Like, absolutely. Therapy is always good self-care.
Gotta take
What
care.
about you, Samara?
Honestly, I don't actually have a lot planned right now. The best I can say is just a lot of rest, a lot of water, and reading more smut because I
Say,
love
how far have you
reading my
gotten?
smut.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm reading the Akatar series right now. I'm about a third of the way through book 3.
Just started it like 2 days ago.
I know it's good. It's smut. um, and I guess where can we find some of Victoria's work or online presence? Where do you post?
A lot of Instagram. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can drop my handle in the chat.
Well, absolutely. Thank you. I was actually just about to post it on as well, but if you've got it quicker, then I will let. I'm being a bad
That's
host.
me, Karla.Marx 1917. So that's where I post a lot of my stuff. You can also go to my website, which I don't really update as much as I should, but there's still stuff on there. At karlamarx1917.com, or you can go to the Cabaret Company, which my wife keeps way better updated. Um, you can check that out. If you're not like big onto social media stuff, we have a email list that you can sign up for. And we only email you like once a month. You can also follow Trans Action
What are you doing?
Alberta.ca.
What are you doing?
That's
Yes,
if
follow
you
Transaction Alberta, please.
Yeah,
And I
I'm really
don't think it's
excited. Tomorrow we're going to be announcing that I'm doing a St. Albert show or talk with Janice Irwin and Dr. Christopher Wells.
you get to do it
We're
with
going to
Janice
be
Irwin.
what's that?
You get to do it with Janice Irwin.
But Janice is great. Yeah, she's a friend. We we've become close over the last couple of years, like being in the fight together, and we started by just like being on like a lot of panels and a lot of prides together and stuff like that. And she's the best. She's great. So it'll be me, Janice, and Chris doing one event together, which is a really great event. So that's April 2nd. If you're in the Edmonton area, that's in St. Albert. Details coming out about that. I'm still working out an Edmonton and Calgary event, but I'm doing also Red Deer and Medicine Hat soon. And I'm actually off in your neck of the woods on Wednesday. I'm doing a little intimate gathering in Harvey Heights.
Ooh, this
Wow.
Yeah.
coming Wednesday?
Mhm.
I will have to look into that. Perfect. Well, thank you so very much for coming out and joining us this
Absolutely.
last little bit. It was an
Yeah.
absolute pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me so much. It was really lovely. It was a good chat.
Absolutely. A lot of fun. Thank you for coming.
Perfect. And I guess for now, we'll say goodbye to everybody. And I can't think of anything else to say right now. Yay, brain
Remember, kids,
brain
stay
drain. It's
hydrated.
been a long
Oh,
week.
I will also say that the Trans Day of Visibility is coming up March 31st. And if you are in the Calgary area, we are doing a couple of events for that. The day is going to be officially declared the Trans Day of Visibility in Calgary by the mayor. We are doing a flag raising at City Hall at noon. And we are doing a free all transcast drag show in the evening. And we have a headliner in from Canada's Drag Race Season 5. Jaylene Time is going to be our headliner, and that is all 100% free, brought to you by Transaction Alberta, the CBRC Smoke Break, and CQAS, Calgary Queer Arts Society, is getting involved. So if you want to come down and check it out, it's called They Got Talent. It's an up and coming stars drag competition, and I'll be hosting. And Jaylene Time will be our special guest judge.
Amazing. Well, thank you again.
Thanks, y'all.
Still